Let's talk about unconventional interview questions. When you interview, most interviews go a certain typical way. However, there are interviewers, they are using other ways to interview candidates. So they kind of figured out that most candidates come to the interviews prepared, expecting certain questions, and these decision makers, these interviewers, they want to be able to make the right decision to hire the right people. So they came with new ways to find out if certain candidates are the best ones for the role. So you need to know this information because this will help you understand why some may ask questions that you have never heard, didn't prepare for, and knowing and expecting these questions, the strategy from their part will help you ace the interview and getting that job that you want, okay? So what they do, this is the strategy they use, okay? They follow this strategy. First, are going to ask you questions to make you relax, so you are in a relaxed state, because they know that whenever you go to an interview, you basically, you can get nervous, or you may be over prepared, in which case they know that the person that they are interviewing, they are not really in their natural state. So this reminds me of a joke. What's his name? Chris something. A comedian said, like in dating, when you first meet the person, the first couple of dates, you actually meet their representative. You don't meet the real person. So these interviewers know that. So their approach is first ask you questions that are really not job related to put you in a state to feel more relaxed. So that obviously you get out of the pattern that you expect, where you would provide specific answers, that you thought about. So they would ask you things like, "Oh, what's your favorite place? What do you do for fun? How do you relax? What's your favorite holiday place?" Things like that. Okay, so once they do that, the next thing they will do, they will ask you some unusual questions, things that you would definitely not prepare for if you don't have an advance warning. So, for example, things that you may get asked: if I were to call your former boss, what would they say about you? Right? So, boom! All of a sudden, you're like, oh, what would they say about me? So you're out of your pattern. You're out of your the question might come to you outside your expected type of questions. Other type of question you may get asked is, when was the last time you planned a holiday and how did you go about it? Like, oh wow, what's with this question? I mean, so but when they ask this kind of questions, they want to basically get your response. Your first response is going to be telling them a lot about you personally. And these are atypical questions used for a reason, so that they are meant to draw out the real you. So basically, they are meant for the employer to know who you are as a person, and not what you've prepared as a script in terms of classic responses to interview questions, right? So expect that most of the employers, they are playing this game now. Most of employers nowadays, they are using these techniques. It's not my place to say whether they're good or bad, these techniques. I'm just telling you, be prepared, and well, it's up to you how you're going to respond to the questions, but expect them, especially if you're interviewing for top jobs, okay? Now, we talked about the first step, we talked about the second step in the strategy. There is a third step, and this is quite controversial. So let's recap. The first step, they ask you something about you personally, what you enjoy, just to get you out of the nervousness or your pre-prepared script, expectations about the interview, how the interview would go. Second step, they would ask you some atypical question that you would not expect, something that would prompt you to give a response where your first reaction would be the natural reaction. That would give them information about you as a person, and because your response would be something you have not prepared for, because most of the times you may not expect such a question. So for example, we'd ask you, if I call your former employer, what would they say about you, right? Your first response is usually the most correct, accurate. And then the same thing with other atypical questions, right? So the third step, the third stage, and as I said, this is controversial, and I have my own opinions about it, which I'm going to give you next. But this goes like this. So the interviewer is going to ask you, towards the end of the interviewer is going to say to you something along the lines, look, I really enjoy speaking to you. I think you're a great candidate. I think your experience, is great. However, this role requires somebody who, and they will draw out something that's very specific to the role that they really want in the role. So, for example, this role requires somebody who is very disciplined, or somebody who is very assertive, whatever the case may be, and they're gonna add, and I don't get the feeling, I don't get from you that you may be able to deliver this. So you see what they've done here? So they actually attacked you. That's what the strategy is, to attack the person. So after you put the person in a relaxed state, you ask them atypical questions. The third step is to attack them and see how they react. So if you ask me, this is crazy strategy, and it can and will backfire, but nonetheless, some people actually use it. So this is what they're looking for. So what they're looking for here is they want to rule out nice, ineffective people. That's the strategy for. So basically, they're looking for the answers, the way you respond to this. So there are three options, three possible responses. So if you say, yeah, I agree, right? So if you agree with them, if you agree with their conclusion, with their statement, that makes you a nice and effective person in their mind. If you basically argue with them, if you argue with them in response to the statement, if you argue with them, then they classify you as a crazy person. And the third possible reaction is you actually disagree with them, and you defend yourself. You disagree with them, defend yourself, and give reasons as to why they are wrong in making the statement. So basically, you defend your position. This is what they are looking for. They are looking for people who can basically disagree, defend their positions, and give reasons as to why they disagree. So they're looking for, I guess, I don't know what you call this, assertiveness, maybe, whatever. So now, if you are prepared for this, when you get this kind of questions, you will not be shocked, and you are going to ace the interview. But now, the thing is, this is my opinion, okay? So this is my take on this, because I've been at the receiving end of this. Yeah, I did. So my reaction was, okay, it was great speaking to you, and I see myself out. So I actually took my coat, my bag, and thanked them, and just literally ended the interview there. And then the next day I get a call, I got offered the job. So, oh, I thought you were not interested. No, actually, we think you've done really well in the interview. So, okay, so what I'm trying to say is that this strategy, in my opinion, is really messed up, because it can backfire big time. So if maybe it works great with people at lower level, like more junior level, but with experienced hires, someone who has like 20 years and more experience going to an interview and being treated like that with this type of question, that's not something that they would take, you know, nice. So they basically will just, you know, end the interview right there, because that would be an affront. That would be, you know, sort of how do you say that? An insult? That would be like an insult to them, right? So like, you kidding me? You're wasting my time, and you know, you clearly invited me to an interview because, you know, you think I'm qualified. My experience speaks for itself, and you're not convinced, and you want me to validate myself. You want me to validate myself? Oh no, that's not going to happen. So this definitely can backfire big time. So experienced people, you know, people with 15, 20, 30 years of experience would not take this kind of question. They will not appreciate this question, and actually they will feel insulted. So this is what happened to me. I get a question like that towards the end of the interview. They said, look, I don't know how you could possibly help us, because obviously the role was in a different sector to the ones I've been working before, and it was very senior level, but different sector. So when I got this question, when I got the statement, I said to myself, oh, okay, so I wasted my time, no problem. And I said to them, look, it was lovely meeting you. I'll see myself out. So took my coat, my bag, headed to the door. And you know, in my mind, it's like, these people are crazy. Like, they asked me for an interview and then they insult me. And then next day I get a call, say, you got the job if you still want it. So are you kidding me? But right. So you see, so sometimes these sort of questions are really misleading. They are really there, you know, as a strategy, and depending on how you tolerate them or not, being prepared for them or not, you know, you get to do well in the interview and get the job or not. That's my take on it. So be mindful when you go to interviews. It's good to be prepared for the type of typical questions you get asked in an interview, but also be prepared for the unexpected.